So you want to take your mid-level woodworking slash construction to the next level, but you don't know exactly how to do it? Well, I'm going to show you one of the biggest, best kept secrets in intermediate level woodworking that you will ever come across, and my handy tool that makes it easier than ever. So these are templates, specifically fastening templates, which have sort of a very special and esoteric use, but are super useful and will massively up your woodworking game. These are mostly geometry derived, and after you've seen basically what they look like, I'm going to show you how they are used. So here what we have are probably the most commonly used dimensions of US lumber for intermediate woodworking projects. You've got a 2x4, 2x4, which is not 2 inches by 4 inches because they don't make full dimension lumber anymore, really, unless you want to pay a ridiculous amount of money. And then we have the 2x6, which this is actually a full dimension 2x6. I had to cut a little off of to make it US modern standard. For those of you who don't know, just a little bit of side trivia, full dimension is where the lumber is actually 2 inches by, if it was a 2x4, 2x4. As you can see, this is a full dimension 2x6, and this is a standard American 2x4. So the dimensions, that's basically about half an inch difference. Call that shrinkflation, if you will. Anyway, templates, right? Anybody can just drill a hole willy-nilly in the board to fasten two pieces of wood together. Say you want two pieces fastened like this. And so you would just, drill your holes wherever the hell you wanted, pre-drill, and then screw. So templates make this so much better. They take the mystery out of the geometric positioning and give you the optimal placement for fasteners to give you maximum structural support while minimizing the possibility of cracking. And additionally, what they do is they make it look really nice, because even though you may not be aware of it subconsciously, the human eye is able to detect spatial variances in the sub-millimeter range. So if you're able to actually position your fasteners geometrically precisely, it looks nicer to your brain. And these templates come in all different sizes for all different dimensions of lumber. These are paper ones that I made years ago, and there's a neat little trick you can do to help these last longer if you're using paper, which is put super glue where the holes are, and that plasticizes the hole and makes it more durable for drilling and so forth, and water. It'll last a bit longer. This is actually a full dimension 2x6 template, and this is for fastening 2x4s to full dimension 2x6s, which I will show you how this actually works in a second on a real live example of something that I built. And then this nifty little folding thing here goes on the end of the 2x4 for fastening vertically if you're fastening like this. Okay. So here's an actual example of how I used this template to attach a 2x6 to a 4x4 post. And as you can see, it looks kind of nice, and structurally it's going to be optimized. So now we're going to do a live demonstration. However, we're not going to use this paper template because that's the whole purpose of this video. As you can see, what happens over time is the drill holes start to wear out as the drill or the countersinking bit hits the paper and tears up that super glue and whatnot. So, welcome to the next generation of drilling templates. These are 3D printed and I'm entering them into a printables contest. And now these are superior in many ways to the original paper versions, probably mainly the durability, but secondly, I didn't have to use a ruler and a pencil to get the holes aligned. I used geometry in a CAD program, so these are super accurate. Furthermore, I added way more holes for a variety of patterns, all of which are geometrically compliant in terms of standard kind of engineering and structural principles. For example, this ring of holes here forms a special kind of extra strong joint that was used in the olden days. The guide you just saw was the first draft. This is the second draft. Initially I tried to make it flexible with joints along the edges so that it could fold up into a neat little package, but in the end I realized that actually had some problems, and I remembered from back when I did a few of my first paper template models that I'd come up with this cool carrot system to align the guides precisely on the workpiece. And as you can see here, if you line up the these cutouts with the edges, you can, and these grooves, you can get a really good alignment. And now I'm gonna demo this live here. Ideally, you could clamp down the template, but that's not like super necessary. I'm going to go with the standard. By the way, these are all at standard increments. This is half an inch right here. This is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just gonna do the standard 4-hole 3/4. And now the reason these are beveled is so if you use a countersinking bit, it's not going to tear into the template too much, and it also kind of give you a little bit of a stop there. Okay, so that's basically how the template works. So I did a little countersinking cleanup on those holes. Now I'm just going to screw this down. Totally unnecessary, but I like to follow through when I'm doing a demo. Like to show off my screwing skills. Alright, so there you have it. That's one of many patterns, and say that you just you want to add a little more structural support there. You can drill the center hole. There's a center hole for each template. And just like that, you got your additional support. And here's an example of one of the other patterns. You can usually rotate this to fit the piece depending on, you know, the orientation. Usually you'd be doing this in a sort of a work shop environment, so you'd have more control over the physics. This is actually one of my favorite patterns. It's similar to the 6 on the dice, but it's 10 screws actually, which is a lot of support for a joint like this. That's one of the nice things about this template, is that you get to choose which pattern to follow. There are minimal patterns that use triangular geometry, for like the really quick and dirty projects. And then there's the more isometric patterns. So yeah, that's the same one that I was showing earlier. I really like this one. This is really good if you're doing old-fashioned, super strong framing and you're not using any of these things, which honestly, if you can afford them, use these because they're gonna make the joint a million times stronger. But sometimes you don't have the luxury of those, and a template is going to be your next best option. They used to use this old school style of, you know, fastener framing back in the 40s, at least where I live, and those structures are still standing, and they probably will for another 100 years. This is the last joint I wanted to demo because it's kind of a tricky one. It's invisible basically, because the piece underneath you can't see because it's blocked by the upper piece. However, with this template in place, you know that your screws are going to go exactly where you want them to be. However, there's one important thing that I do want to mention here. This is not a drill guide, it's a drill template. A drill guide ensures that the drill bit goes perpendicular to the surface so you get a nice straight hole, but this is not designed for that. It's just a template, so it's up to you to drill those holes straight and true. But what the template will do is ensure that the holes are perfectly positioned. Just countersinking those. Just like that. So now that the demo's out of the way, let's just go over the basics. On this first version, I actually had the lumber type and dimensions marked on here, but that turned out to be cumbersome and rather unnecessary because it's pretty obvious, and that's one of the things that I really love about this template is that it's super self-explanatory and easy to use. Almost a baby could use this to drill precision holes. Yeah, okay, so there's about 4 different configurations for each template. This is 4x4, this is 4x6, and this is 2x4, and this is 2x6. These are the ends of the boards, and this is the surface of the boards. This also can be used for fastening 2x4s to 2x6s, which is pretty handy. You can also use it to fasten 2x4s to 4x4s, which is also handy. This little thing in the middle, it's part of the guide, but it's also a handy hanging thing that you can like put this on a nail or whatever just to make it accessible in your workshop. These grooves are not just for denoting where the edge of the board should be optimally placed underneath. They're also scoring marks, so you can actually snap these apart, and then you get each piece as a separate part if that's what you desire. Maybe you only need 1 or 2 of these for a job. It's pretty easy to just stack them up and put them in your toolbox or whatever. And you can clean up those edges by cutting them on your table saw. You do have a table saw, don't you? So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully you guys will find this useful, and yeah, I'm releasing it public domain consistent with my other designs so that it can have maximum utility. People can sell these or mass produce them or whatever. I just I want it to be useful. Oh yeah, there was another little thing that I thought I might just mention here. On the original design, And this was actually part of my original template. I had little key markers. On the paper template, it was circles around specific holes to indicate individual patterns. On this first draft, I put little triangular markers, little carrots, to indicate different patterns, individual patterns. So for example, there's 4 patterns on here, and based on the directions of the triangles, you could basically, it'd speed you up a little. But after thinking about it, like, it really added to the complexity of the topology and the print and didn't make a huge difference. I found that visually it was fairly easy, even on this most complicated of all the templates. It was pretty easy to just visually tell, which pattern was which. So yeah, anyway, please enjoy. Thanks for watching.